Have you ever tried to help someone only to feel your effort was wasted or even thrown back in your face? Maybe you offered heartfelt advice to a friend, yet they ignored it and made the same mistakes again and again. It's a frustrating and confusing experience, like throwing a lifeline to someone who refuses to grab it. Believe it or not, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is not help at all. This sounds strange, even harsh. But ancient Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca understood a hard truth. Not everyone can or should be helped. They taught that we must extend our hands wisely, not recklessly. Offering help to the wrong person can drag you into chaos and undermine your own strength. Today, we'll explore 7 types of people the Stoics warn us not to help, unless they first choose to help themselves. This isn't about being cold-hearted, it's about protecting your peace and using your energy where it truly counts. Let's dive into this Stoic wisdom and learn how to balance compassion with clarity. 1. The willfully ignorant. The first type is the willfully ignorant. People who refuse to see the truth even when it's right in front of them. They cling to comforting illusions and reject reason as if it were an enemy. Trying to enlighten them feels futile. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned us not to waste energy on those who don't value wisdom. He said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." In other words, if someone doesn't even know or care where they're headed, no amount of guidance will help them. You can't pour knowledge into a closed cup. Those who shun learning, mock self-discipline, and scorn self-reflection will only squander your efforts. True change has to come from within. The willfully ignorant usually have plenty of information, but they lack the courage to confront their own flaws. Helping such a person is like trying to build a ship out of rotten wood. No matter how hard you work, that ship will sink before it ever sails. Unless they decide to open their mind and seek the truth themselves, your help will only drain you without truly helping them. 2. The relentlessly entitled. Next are the relentlessly entitled. Those who behave as if the world owes them everything. They disguise their entitlement as need, always asking for favors or support, but offering no effort of their own. In their mind, they are owed your time and energy, even though they won't lift a finger to help themselves. They expect others to carry them through life while they refuse to take responsibility for their choices. The Stoic teacher Epictetus, who was born a slave and became a philosopher, saw through this mindset. He observed, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." Often the entitled are worrying over imagined problems and expect others to solve them. When we enable this kind of person by doing everything for them, we only feed their illusion of dependence. We teach them to lean on a crutch instead of learning to stand on their own. Stoicism demands self-reliance because that's where freedom begins. If someone will not take responsibility for their own life, your help will only tighten the chains of their dependence. Ask yourself, are you truly aiding them or just enabling their weakness? There's a big difference, and the stakes are high. In trying to help the relentlessly entitled, you might actually be keeping them weak and helpless. 3. The destructive. Some people seem to carry chaos wherever they go. These are the destructive individuals. They aren't merely lost souls looking for direction. They're more like human tempests, storms in human form, tearing down everything they touch. The Stoic sage Seneca cautioned us about keeping the wrong company. He advised, Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. In other words, spend time with people who lift you up and whom you can also lift up. The destructive person does neither. They do not seek growth or improvement. Instead, they spread their inner turmoil to others. Their problems aren't normal challenges. They're like weapons that create more chaos. Trying to help a destructive person is like inviting a storm into your home. The Stoics remind us to guard our tranquility because inner peace is the foundation of a good life. Letting someone constantly unravel your peace isn't noble, it's foolish. Think of a drowned man who refuses to let go of the heavy stone pulling him under. If he won't let go, you cannot save him. Sometimes the only choice is to let him sink, or else you'll drown along with him. 4. The perpetually indecisive. The fourth type is the perpetually indecisive. People who live at the crossroads of life but never take a step forward. Their life is a constant cycle of hesitation, doubt, and inaction. They ask for advice on every decision, not because they plan to act on it, but because asking lets them delay making a choice. They are so afraid of making the wrong move that they end up making no move at all. Seneca observed, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." If someone tries to consider every possible option and gets input from everyone, they end up nowhere, paralyzed by overthinking. A perpetually indecisive person will drain your energy with their endless deliberation. You might spend hours helping them weigh the pros and cons, yet they still refuse to act. Stoicism teaches that our true power lies in our ability to choose and act. The indecisive willingly give up that power. Helping someone who won't decide often means getting tangled in their web of doubt, caught in a whirlpool of questions that never find answers. Until they find the courage to make a choice, your guidance is futile. Remember the warning from Marcus Aurelius. You could leave life right now. Life is short and every day is precious. If someone insists on wasting their time standing still, don't let them waste yours too. 5. The chronically dishonest. Among the most dangerous people to help are the chronically dishonest. Those who weave lies into every part of their life. These individuals lie not only to others, but even to themselves. They manipulate your trust, distort reality, and poison relationships with their deceit. Trying to help someone who lies constantly is extremely tricky because you never know what to believe. According to Epictetus, reason requires that we live in agreement with nature and with each other. Honesty is natural and rational, so dishonesty is a rebellion against both reason and nature. When you try to help a dishonest person, you risk becoming complicit in their falsehoods, and even your best intentions will collapse because they're built on lies. Stoicism is a philosophy of truth. Truth about ourselves, the world, and the challenges we face. If you engage with someone's lies, you stray from that path of truth and can lose sight of what is real and meaningful. You cannot teach integrity to someone who doesn't value honesty. Their constant deceit will erode your own peace and may tempt you to compromise your values. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In other words, we become like the people we surround ourselves with. If you keep company with liars, their dishonesty will start to rub off on you. Helping a dishonest person doesn't reform them. It usually just deepens their web of lies. To uphold your own integrity, you often have to walk away from those who refuse to live in truth. 6. The emotionally addictive. Some people don't truly want to solve their problems. They just crave attention and validation. These individuals can become emotionally addictive to be around. They always seem to be in a crisis of their own making, and they pull everyone around them into their drama. Every minor inconvenience in their life becomes a catastrophe. They expect you to constantly comfort them and carry their burdens. Yet they do nothing to improve their situation. It's as if they want a savior, not a solution. The Stoics warned us about getting entangled in other people's emotional storms. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When we let an emotionally addictive person consume our time and energy, we lose sight of that inner strength. We become reactive, always responding to the latest crisis instead of staying grounded and calm. Their chaos pulls us away from our own reason and tranquility. Helping someone like this often means feeding their dependency rather than fostering their growth. They aren't looking for real solutions. They're looking for someone to constantly rescue them. But even the best rescuer can't save someone who refuses to own their feelings. If you throw yourself into their storm, you sacrifice your peace for a false sense of control over their chaos. And in the end, nothing is really fixed. The Stoics urge us to show compassion with wisdom. As Seneca wrote, "No man can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it or believes that he can avoid the natural course of things." In other words, you can't shield someone from every hardship without losing your own peace. Be kind, but recognize when someone's emotional pattern is draining your strength. Don't let their storm uproot your stability. Helping someone like this in the usual way isn't kindness, it's self-sabotage. Sometimes the best you can do is set firm boundaries and step back until they choose to take charge of their own healing. 7. The resentful. Finally, beware of the resentful, people who view life through a lens of bitterness. They blame others for every misfortune and refuse to take ownership of their choices. No matter how much you try to help, they will twist your kindness into more fuel for their bitterness. They act as if your help is owed to them, and they see your generosity as weakness. Often they repay kindness with ingratitude or hostility. Epictetus warned about associating with those consumed by negativity. He said, "Do not try to seem wise to others. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This reminds us not to waste effort trying to fix someone who doesn't want to change. A resentful person resists wisdom because their identity is wrapped up in their grudges. If you try to pull them out of negativity, you'll just get dragged into an unwinnable battle. Their resentment blinds them to any value in your help. These individuals turn their anger outward, blaming circumstances, other people, or even fate for everything. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. But the resentful do the opposite. They hold on to every grievance like a treasure. Marcus Aurelius gives a useful reminder. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In other words, don't let someone else's bitterness make you bitter. Engaging with a resentful person's negativity risks poisoning your own peace. Trying to help them will only drain your energy and invite conflict. So it's wiser to preserve your inner calm and know when to walk away. You might offer a word of wisdom if they genuinely seek it, but otherwise don't remain where bitterness reigns. Your energy is better spent on those who want to grow. Compassion with clarity. You might wonder, does this mean we stop being compassionate? Absolutely not. Stoicism doesn't tell us to stop caring. It tells us to care wisely, be kind and helpful, but also clear-eyed about what actually helps. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is let someone face their own challenges. Marcus Aurelius said it well. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. That means being patient and understanding with others, but honest with yourself about what you can and cannot change. If someone shows even a small spark of willingness to change, by all means help them. But if all your good advice just disappears into a void of negativity or denial, it may be time to step back. The Stoics focused on mastering their own emotions first, so they would be strong enough to support those who genuinely wanted to improve. Remember, every moment you spend trying to save someone who refuses to help themselves is time you could spend on someone who does want to grow, or on your own growth. Stand firm in your values like an oak tree rooted in wisdom, able to bend with compassion but not break in a storm. As Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. In other words, you become freer and stronger when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, like other people's choices. In the end, only help those who are willing to help themselves so that you preserve your own strength and peace. This isn't cruelty or indifference. It's clarity and wisdom. It's the tough love at the heart of Stoicism. If this message resonated with you, consider subscribing for more Stoic insights. Thank you for watching.